Okay, cool. All right. All right. Thank you for the introduction. Appreciate that. So, uh, give me 1 second. Is my internet connection fine right now? It's saying your internet connection is unstable. I want to make sure everyone is still able to listen to
You
me.
are you are a bit spotty, but now you're fine.
Okay, cool. All right. So yeah, I was gonna say Shikamo. I Googled and I was gonna just use whatever I found in Google, but thanks to Amos, he said that the more colloquial way to get started with the conversation would be Nyajay and Mkapoa. So yeah, Nyajay, Mkapoa. Hope you guys are doing well. And with that, that's the first lesson of today. Stay close to your end users, talk to them, and you'll get to know what uh, if your assumptions are right. Like, I mean, I was looking at Google and I thought, okay, that's it. That should be good enough. But once I talked to Amos, he was like, okay, that is not good enough. You will come across as someone who's another foreigner trying to speak Swahili. So yeah, let's get started. I'm really excited to talk to you guys about product management and product marketing today. Just like Amos, a lot of people think about product management and product marketing as two contrasting roles, and they think of it as versus PM versus PMM. But today I wanted to draw parallels between these two roles and highlight how they act as the yin and yang for a successful product. Let me, all right. So, staying with the theme, let me get started with my own yin and yang. I got my BTech degree from IIT Guwahati and then an MBA from UNC Chapel Hill. So before my MBA, I was a software developer at Virtusa Consulting Services, during which I worked on a variety of technologies. And after that, I took up a product marketing role at Progress Software, where I managed the data direct suite of products, which dealt again with software. And over there, I managed that $50 million product for 3 years. And currently, I'm a product manager at AT&T. And at AT&T, I manage the AT&T advertisement platform and also the innovation experiences on the web. Coming on to the personal side, I love soccer. I'm a big fan of Manchester United and also Barcelona. I write a lot on Medium. It's under the name Under by Minutes. If you're curious on what kind of writing, like, it's about product management, life, philosophies, everything put together. So you'll be able to find that link in the meetup. Uh, I volunteer for 48 in 48, which is a NGO that builds websites for nonprofits across the world. I love reading books, which is a habit I very recently picked up. And one of my favorite books that I would like to suggest others is on the nonfiction side. It's Good to Great, a great book for all sort of product leaders. And lastly, I'm a director of marketing slash strategy at Product Camp Dallas, which is a very similar organization to Product Tank. By the way, like, at any given point in time, if you have any questions, drop a note. My overall presentation should last about 30 minutes, and then we can just have a, quick chat about your questions and have a conversation about what kind of transitions you're making in your life. But before that, let me do a quick disclaimer, just so that everyone is on the same page. The opinions expressed in this presentation are my own and do not reflect the official policy or sentiments of my current or previous employers. Examples that I may use, something like Uber Eats or Instagram in this presentation, are only examples, and they do not reflect my actual views on a product or a company. This presentation is intended for education purposes only, so please pay due diligence before you make enterprise scale changes. I'm not expecting you to, but if you were to, it's basically just theoretical, and there'll be all those nuances that you need to think about before you take it to your company. With that, let's get started. Before we get into the details of what makes a great product leader, let's agree on the functions of a product manager and product marketer. And this is going to be a little basic. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed the examples I gave. But if it's a little boring for you, I apologize. Things are going to get a little more interesting further down in the slides. So at a high level, product management is about building the right product, And product marketing is about bringing the right value of the product to the right customer at the right time and right place. So you can think of building versus selling, or building versus enabling the sales process. So let's start with product management. As a product manager, one of the most critical tasks you would be owning as you grow in your product management career is the vision, goals, and strategy of your product. Like today, if you're part of a large organization, or if you're very early in your career as a product manager, you may not be doing this, but eventually you will have to own uh, these three buckets. So when I say vision, let's start again. The way you think about vision is, okay, you take a snapshot of the landscape from a 10,000 feet level. You're looking at the competition, you're looking at the product, you're looking at the customer journey, their pain points, their likes, dislikes, your wins and losses from the past couple of years. And then you're going to say, okay, this is the landscape, and here is the white space, and here we are. So, and this is where we are going to head. So, for example, your vision could be something like, okay, I want to make app extremely seamless. It's very generic, right? And that's where the goals come in. So when you say goals, you're going to make it more concrete. There's like it's almost like you can go to the same point in 100 ways. So you're going to pick and choose what are the goals so that everyone is aligned on how do you get to your vision. So in this case, the example could be, you could be personalizing the app for better experience. You could be leveraging machine learning to have better recommendation, or you could be integrating with a lot of payment services to make it easy for people to pay using your app, right? So all these are various goals, and that's where strategy comes in. So in strategy, you're going to think about, okay, what are the different pieces and how do I get there? And once I have figured out that, okay, let's say I want to carve out the payment experiences. And inside the payment experiences, you could be supporting Google Pay, you could be supporting Apple Pay, you could be doing Venmo, Cash, or you're directly connecting to the bank account, right? So all these could be made available in the product, but at the end of the day, you have to prioritize. And that's where the business cases come in. So as you are coming up with a strategy for your product, or when you're convincing your leadership to go in one direction or the other, that's where the business cases come in. You're essentially going to talk about what is the business value bring in, what is the overall effective lifetime value improvement that this functionality is going to give to the product. So, and then you move to the roadmap prioritization phase. So the first two aspects, you may or may not be dealing with it as of today, unless you're a small workshop or you're a great product leader. The roadmap prioritization, however, is like the day-to-day of a product manager. So once you have decided that, okay, I want to support Apple Pay, then there are like a ton of features that will come as part of the Apple Pay. Some of them are going to be a lot more obvious because again, they're critical for the service, and hence it becomes like, okay, I'm going to build this first. And sometimes there are going to be features that are going to be very well aligned with your vision or goals, and that becomes a lot more easier to prioritize. And then comes those features which are good to have or which are delighters. At the same time, you're thinking, okay, do I build this or this? That's where I would like to use quantification mechanisms and frameworks like RICE. RICE is a great framework. If you guys are not aware of it, it's basically reach into impact into the confidence that this feature will work by the overall divided by the overall effort that it'll take. So you're going to quantify these numbers at a abstract level relative to each other, and you end of the day going to come and get which feature is going to deliver more value in the least uh, amount of time or resources possible. And obviously, people management, I think we can all agree that people management is the most important skill, that soft skill that a product manager can have, because you're effectively managing a large group of organizations, managing their expectation, managing their wants and needs, and sometimes you have to give them a strong no and still keep them happy. So managing those relations while taking the product forward towards the customer is extremely important for a product manager. The rest of the three buckets are pretty self-explanatory. You need to have KPIs to measure your success, because again, when I say my product is successful, it becomes abstract. It becomes debatable. But once you, as an organization, as a product manager, agree on what the KPIs are, and you can show that actual improvement, then you can make decisions on based of those KPIs. So now let's move on to the product marketing side. This is also an equally important role, but not many people, especially in the developing world, are aware of the product marketer's role. The way this role works is, okay, they begin with understanding the customer. Obviously, the product managers also need to understand, but the purpose of the product marketer is to define the customer persona so that everyone in the organization, be it the support team, the sales team, the product management team, the engineering team, everyone understands what are the motivations of a customer, what are their personalities like, what are their pain points like, where do they buy, where do they sell, where do they really identify new products, what is a customer journey like, and what do they, how are they using the products. So that's where the persona comes in. It gives a clear picture for the entire organization to march towards. And the GTM strategy is the go to market strategy. This is again going to latch on to the vision, goals, and strategy and figure out how to take it to market. So whatever you're seeing on the slide, the messaging and position, the content strategy, the sales enablement, the demand generation, marketing KPIs, whatnot, everything is part of the go to market strategy. So let me take an example. uh, Give me 1 second. Thank you for your patience. All right, so here you're basically looking at the past year's data, you're talking to the customers, like, I mean, you're really understanding what is happening out there. You're managing the conversations with the customer, with the analysts, with your product managers, with engineers, and you're putting together what is needed to achieve your goals for the year. So, for example, like messaging and positioning, right? So, let's take the example of Uber Eats, which I just got to know that is pretty popular in Kenya because Amos was using it just while I was getting on the call. Um, if you were targeting, let's say, an 18 to 25-year-old person, right? They're probably looking for affordability. They're looking for accessibility, probably a variety of items, right? And that's where you would come up with messaging like, okay, restaurants at your fingertips at the prices you like. So you're going to elevate that part of your product that is going to be most relevant to your customers, versus if you're targeting someone who's like 30 to 40 years old and is married and is looking for a healthy alternative and they don't have the time to cook, then you're going to say something like, okay, fresh and healthy food from your favorite restaurants. Here you're going to talk about the relevancy of the restaurants for these people and the healthiness of the food that they're going to get. Similarly, content strategies about creating, like, I mean, as a product marketer, you'll end up participating in a lot of webinars, excuse me, and product conferences. Give me 1 second. Sorry about that. Um, so yeah, you're going to create webinars, you're going to participate in conferences, you're going to create blogs, you're going to write articles for magazines, you're going to talk to the analysts and have them print articles about your product. So all that comes under content creation. And sales enablement is about, again, sales comes in between the product and the customer, and they're a very critical part of the organization. So it's your job as a product marketer to help them understand what part of the product is relevant to what kind of customer. You help them really sell the product and you enable them in the process. Demand generation goes back to, okay, what kind of campaigns to run. Do you want to run Google ads? Do you want to run Instagram ads? You want to create content? You want to partner with external partners? All that stuff. And the KPIs is pretty self-explanatory. And also there are several other functions that you may not be seeing on this slide at the moment, like something like customer research, product launches, competitive research, pricing. In these cases, both these twins of product are going to wear multiple hats, and they're going to swap hats as needed during the product cycle. So just to summarize, I'm going to make it very simple. If there are beginners out there, a very good way to think about the product organization is a high-end restaurant. So the head chef is like the product manager who is basically coordinating all this with all the sous chefs, the workers, the maintenance department, and everyone in the organization to create world-class dishes. So he's not going to prepare them himself, but he's going to pick the dishes for the day and decide what is right for the customer and determine who is the right person to prepare a certain kind of dish, and end of the day create new recipes that are going to thrill the customer. So he's going to constantly look at the customer feedback, he's looking at past experiences, he's going to test all his ideas and come up with scrumptious dishes that people can come back to again and again. Product marketers, on the other hand, they are like the restaurant owners and managers. They're the ones managing the ambience. They're the ones recommending dishes to the customers. They're the ones naming the prices, naming the dishes, pricing the dishes, maintaining the press relations, promoting the restaurants, running campaigns, and collecting the feedback and improving the overall product by feeding it into the product manager, sorry, the head chef, right? So they are equally important for the success for the success of the restaurant. Unless you're like a Gordon Ramsay who can get away with yelling at your restaurant owners, it's always in your best interest to partner with your product marketer and do well for your product. So now let's get started with what does it take for product leaders across both product marketers and product managers to create a successful product. Again, this is where I was talking about drawing parallels between these two roles and how there are some common skill set needed for both the roles. The first one is customer centricity. Obviously, I know it is overused, but it is just too important for me to not talk about it, especially when we are talking about the product wins of an org. So, whether you're building a feature or promoting a feature, you you need to constantly think about all kinds of personas for your product. It could be power users, it could be first time users, it could be tech savvy versus non tech savvy users, they could be lovers of your product, or they're just like meh kind of your consumers, right? They could be indirect consumers. So all of this put together, you at every point are going to think about, okay, what is this feature solving for the customer? Is it just like a single problem for everyone, or is it going to solve one problem for one kind of user but introduce new problems to other users, like new frictions, or if it's a delighter, or if it's like a mission critical must have feature, right? So all of this, it is very easy or relatively easy to think about these things when you're thinking about it from your lens or your peers lens or your organization's lens. But to take multiple, or like to wear multiple hats, to fill multiple shoes, and to think of all the various kinds of users that are using your product, that's going to be very difficult. And that's why empathetic product leaders can build much more successful products than the regular kind of product managers or product marketers. The next one is invariably decision making. I don't know, like, did you guys ever try making a group of people pick a restaurant? The answer is usually like, okay, I don't know what I want to eat. I don't care what I want to eat. Like, I'm good with anything, right? So, like in a regular situation, product managers and product marketers do not have that luxury, because usually inaction is going to cost you a lot more than taking any of the alternatives that you have. And that's why product leaders need to be pretty action based. So, usually you can rely on data. So if you have enough data, then making the right call is going to be just a think of like putting the numbers together and deciding what to do. But more often than not, they are going to be similar in value. And then you're going to look at, okay, the vision. Okay, does this align with what I'm going to achieve in 2 years or 1 year or 6 months, like, right? So look at the vision, look at the direction, and make sure you're headed in the right direction. And finally, if you still are not sure about which direction to go ahead, then go for A/B tests. So whether you're a product marketer or product manager, find low cost alternatives to testing an idea, and finally pick the one that wins in the experiment. So the biggest difference between good product leaders and great product leaders is great product leaders, they're going to achieve what the customer needs while maintaining the relations with the team. So they are going to be very comfortable with saying no to the execs whenever it is needed, and they are aware that there are always going to be trade-offs. So whether it is in terms of time, in terms of cost, in terms of experience, in terms of overall clicks that the customer has to take, there's always some trade-off. And that's where the decision making skills, while keeping the context of all the parameters, is going to come in for great product leaders. So let's spend a couple of minutes on the importance of data, because again, like I said, whenever you're making those decisions, data is going to be your biggest ally. And let's say an exec comes to you and he says, okay, I need this feature and this is going to improve the customer experience by in this so and so way. So your immediate response should be, okay, let's take a step back. Okay, why does he think that? What part of the UX is going to improve? And is there a way to quantify this? Okay, what is the quantified, what is the dollar value or rupee value, like I don't know what Kenyan dollar is. So what is the dollar value you can associate with this particular feature, and why is it better than something else that I was going to build? Look at the roadmap. Where does your product, where does your feature fit? Is this more important than everything that I have? All right, let's go ahead and do this. Or like, let's take a look at what is the cost of not fixing this. So constantly question your people, not with the intent to just go by your word, but with the intent to really understand where they're coming from, and if it really is going to be a game changer compared to everything else that you have in the roadmap. I mean, this doesn't change even if you're a product marketer. Like if your demand gen team is going to come back and say, let's rerun this campaign. It did wonderful last year. Then we're going to talk about, okay, what does success look like? Okay, what do you think was good last time? How many leads did it generate? How many opportunities did it generate? What did a similar campaign last year generate? Are there other alternatives? Can we improve this? Do we have the same budget? Do we have the same goals? So just look at all kinds of data, and then again make that data centric decision. That's why, yeah, I often refer to product leaders as ship captains. The analogy is that a ship captain knows where he wants to head, but he needs a compass to head in the right direction and course correct, right? So that's what data is. It's like a data compass, and they have to consistently be course correcting and heading in the right direction. The next one is pivot. I hope you guys are Friends fans. If you guys are not familiar with this guy, this is Ross Geller, and the situation alludes to the importance of agile. Like again, when I say agile, everything in this world is changing. The technology, the consumer preferences, your competition, like things like COVID are coming into the picture. Everything changes, and it's your ability to react to these changes. It could be something as big as COVID, or it could be as simple as your resources are taking a vacation and you do not have the same amount of bandwidth anymore, right? So taking all of this together, I want to talk about how agility is very important. So in this particular scene, Ross Geller, the guy is trying to take the sofa from the ground floor to the first floor, and he's yelling at his friends who are helping him pivot to have them take it in again, like pivot a little bit and make the process a little more simpler, right? Uh, this scene is like has a great takeaway for all the product leaders out there. Like number one, just because Ross is agile minded and just because he knows how to get there doesn't mean the entire team knows. So it's important that you prepare your team to be agile. That agile culture is going to come by constantly communicating the fact that it is dynamic, we are going to change, and we are going to embrace the fact that we will be agile and we'll be making sure that we're delivering the product and we're going to deliver value with every sprint, and not just think about, oh, this is what I agree to, and this is what I can deliver. And the second factor is like pivots cost time, money, and patience. So if you think about it, it's growing to it's like a exponential graph. The first pivot is going to be fine, like everyone is going to be okay with it, but as you increase the number of pivots, people are going to lose the patience. It's going to be costlier to pivot at a later point in time. Like again, like if you're initiating a new product launch, a new feature, and you say in the first week that, oh, you know what, I want to change this, it's going to be fine. But if you were to do it 3 months down the lane just before the launch, then everyone is going to be a little more frustrated, and also it's going to be a lot more costly for the organization. And finally, product teams need to embrace the idea of MVPs. Like in this case, assuming the sofa were breakable and done in pieces, you could have taken one piece at a time and finally moved the entire sofa into the second floor. So that's where you need to embrace the idea of like, okay, what is the minimum viable product, the MVP that I can deliver, which will give me enough feedback to incorporate in the next iteration, which will keep the customers happy, which will generate revenue, and which will just keep the boat sailing, right? So, in order to allude to the idea of MVP plus agile in action, let me talk a little bit about how I built my main slide that you saw earlier in the presentation. I first started with, okay, let's say everything in my laptop crashed and I did not have enough time to work on it. So the first slide that you see, that would have been good enough, right? So it has everything that I want to say, but then I had enough time. Then I started thinking about, okay, it is good, but it's not really communicating the idea that product management and product marketing are go hand in hand, right? So then the next iteration, again, like that's why I introduced the hands. And then the next iteration, I did not feel like it was connecting well enough with the overall, um, the overarching theme of the presentation. So I brought in the yin and yang, and then I figured, okay, let me A/B test this a little bit, and added some colors, took a few opinions from the field, like spoke to my wife and a few others, and figured out, okay, this is what I want to go with. The next one is, excuse me, um, again, the final version where I want like, okay, I'm going to be representative of product tank of my brand, and I was like, okay, I need to be really crystal clear as to how I want to present this information. So I settled with the left one, but at the same time it wasn't fitting as well into the overarching theme once again, so I had to go with the final one. I don't know which one you like. I would be delighted to know which slide you like better. The yin and yang of product with the blue and orange. If that is the one your favorite, please say A, or B if you like the second one. All right. So again, you could be having the most amazing product. You could be having the most agile mindset, but the ability to collaborate continues to be the cornerstone for the long-term success of you as a product leader, or even your product as a leader in its market. So you got to lead the team to your success, and you got to make them the heroes of your story. So if you're thinking, where am I in the picture? No, you're not there in the picture. You're the one taking the picture. So it's basically like taking a picture. Like this is an example I use. Like again, no offense intended, but like when I take my pictures for my wife, um, I have to, like if it's a good picture, it's usually because my wife was a good poser, and if it's a bad picture, because I was bad at the photography or the technology. So it's just like that. There's going to be a lot of uh, paying forward kind of experiences, and if you think about, okay, if everyone else is getting credit for the successes and if I'm being blamed for the losses, what motivates people, right? So that's where you have to pick your cornerstone. You have to have your own vision. You have your, like it's almost like the success of the product. It's like your baby. It doesn't matter whether you get the credit. You should be happy that your product is doing well, or the data part of it. If you're able to improve the data by x base point, it should be delighting you. Or it's the fact that people look up to you as the SMEs, or it's about the fact that you're able to enhance the experience of the customer and determine what is exactly uh, creating like a what a good product is. What I mean is like, okay, we deal with a lot of products in our life and we constantly complain, oh, why is this here, why is this product here, why is this button here, right? So this is a chance where you're able to create the perfect product which is simple but not simpler. Like, this is a quote I really embrace: create things that are simple, make things simple but not simpler. Just do enough so that people are not thinking when they're interacting with your product. But don't make it too simple just because it's going to save you cost. It has to be always about the customer and your product. And maybe if everything is left, anything is left, it's about your team. So yeah, finally, this is the last slide. As a modern product leader, I would say you have to develop OCD. When I say OCD, it's obsessively being customer driven. So understand every single step of your customer, understand every emotion they're going through, ask infinite questions, like be a great listener. As the author of the Good to Great book says, like, okay, great companies are led by great leaders who are extremely good listeners and great empathizers. So it's about keeping your feet in their shoes, and when we say that, it's like living through them. Like, if you're talking about a 25-year-old teenager, you have to become that person. You have to be using nature instead of I don't remember the more formal version. So just think about who you are talking to and become them. And finally, you have to be very adept with technology and data. Obviously, technology is not a barrier, but it'll always help to understand what your developers are building. So understand the technologies to the point that you're able to have a conversation with the team, challenge them with your ideas. Again, uh, architecting and solutioning is a lot more easier than building things. So you should feel comfortable about understanding what a technology does, what are its benefits, what are its latest developments, and finally push your team to do what is right with the customer. And the last one is championing your product. Like, I mean, who else will do it, right? If not for you, you are the SME, whether you're a product manager or product marketer. No one understands the landscape or the product or the customer or the sales process better than you. So make sure that you're the one selling the product internally before they go out and start selling it externally. Like, passion is super infectious. If you do it the right way, everyone is going to replicate it. Like, I mean, if you believe that you know the secret sauce of taking your product to a 10x growth, you cannot do it by yourself. It's very important that you scale yourself. Just like you scale your product, it's important that you scale your philosophies, your ideologies, your solutions, your ideas across the organization. And to be honest, this could again be applicable to your personal relationships as well, because when you're taking a picture for your spouse, make sure that you develop OCD. Be obsessively customer driven. In this case, it's your wife, like, or husband. Be focused, understand what their favorite side is, understand what makes them feel good, and be adept with the technology, which is like, be familiar with iPhone or like a camera, or Instagram, Snapchat, whatever they're using. And finally, champion your product. This is the most important part. Just tell them how amazing the picture is, how amazing they are. With that, I would like to conclude. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate you guys taking the time to just listen to this whole conversation. I want this to be a completely mutual learning experience. If you have any questions, this is a great time to bring them up. You can reach out to me on Nish_Kadi on Twitter, or like Nishanth Kadiyala on LinkedIn, or even follow me on my personal blog on Medium, which you'll be able to find on the meetup description. Amos, over to you.
Cool, awesome. Thank you, Nishanth. That was incredibly insightful. We're going to open this up for about 10 minutes or so for a Q&A session.
Okay.
So, guys, if you some questions for Nishanth, feel free to drop them onto the group chat, or you can unmute yourself. I think that feature has been activated. Yeah, you can be able to unmute yourself and pose your question to Nishanth. So, audience, you have the space. I think there's someone who wants your Twitter handle. So,
Oh, okay. I am going to do it right now. There you go. Oops, that was done privately. There you go. I see one more question up in the chat. It says, over the years, I have come to realize there is a dotted line between PM and PMM. Is there a difference between PRD for PM and PMM? That's a very interesting question. So the PRD it comes from the waterfall world where you're clearly describing um, what happens to the product in the various timelines of the life cycle. Um, so more so, okay, let me take a step back. So first of all, like today we are going to deal with a lot of capabilities and features and user stories. The earlier world was, okay, help me define the entire experience, versus today it's more like agile. Okay, this is the high level. Okay, I want to support Apple Pay, and this is the first version. This is whom I want to launch with, and you come with a mini version, a beta version. And in the process, when you're talking to the product marketing team, you're not necessarily going to talk about the features. You're going to help them understand the value you're going to bring from that feature. So think of it like when you're introducing Apple Pay, help them understand that, okay, 30% or 40% of a user base is using iPhone, and they're more likely to, or like 80% of those usually have Apple Pays, and this is the reason we're building. And the reason in the first place we are targeting uh, making the payment process easy is because we have spoken with people in focus groups, or we have seen data on the checkout page that there's a lot of fall off at the payment level. Sometimes it's because people just don't want to pay, but sometimes it also has been noted that it's just not easy or comfortable for them to use a certain form of payment. So once you give them the context as to why you're building a feature, then the product marketer is going to start thinking about, okay, here are the various personas, and these are the personas that will care about this particular feature, and this is the kind of messaging and positioning I'll use to highlight and promote this feature. It's also on the product side, it's about taking everything in the market in the organization and feeding it into the product, versus with product marketing, it's closely communicating with all the teams once again, and delivering or like promoting the right value of the product to the right persona. Hope that was as helpful. Like if you have follow-up questions, please unmute yourself and let me know.
just to a question on what you just said about how the PM and the PMM can work together. And then you said something about on the PMM side, it's about driving the value of the product to the
Right.
right personas.
Mhm.
How, isn't that very something very similar to what like the PM is doing in terms of like stakeholder management, or where is the difference?
So the biggest difference between product management and product marketing is usually that one is internal facing, the other one is external facing. So I like to think about the two roles as, okay, it's almost like a black box. And in one case, the black box is taking information. And in the other case, the black box is uh, giving away information. So actually, let's take a different analogy. That's okay. On one end, you're taking information from sales. Oh, I'm not able to actually see your picture. All right. So yeah, you talk to the sales team, you talk to the customers, you look at the data, you look at your past wins and losses, right? And then you're going to say, okay, this is where the gap in the product is, and this is what I'm going to build so that in the next 6 months, I'll be able to bridge this gap and increase the value to the customer and overall lifetime value of the customer, right? So that's what is happening on the product management side. But on
Mhm.
the product marketing side, you're taking the product, you're taking the reasons why the product manager actually built the product,
Mhm.
and assimilating that information and translating it into the right channels, into the right format. Like for example, when you're going to your leadership, you're going to talk about the business value, about the impact on the KPIs, marketing KPIs and product KPIs in 6 years. But if you're going to the sales team, then you're going to talk about, oh, this is a revolutionary feature and this is going to be most impactful for these customers. Or if you're going directly to the customers, then you're going to talk about, okay, oh, this feature is going to help you solve this problem. We have seen this, we have seen, like, let's say someone dropped off in the last stage of a funnel. So you can go back to them and remarket them, telling them that, okay, now we have this new feature and now they're more likely to buy the product, right? So that's the biggest difference between these two roles.
Okay. I have a follow-up question, and this
Sure.
is more into like the go-to-market side. So
Hmm.
you have the product, it's ready. Now it's the PMM is swinging into action, right? What are some of the, I don't know if I can call them baseline features or principles for the go-to-market that anyone can sort of like apply?
Okay. That's a great question. Like again, like for a go-to-market strategy, okay, the various elements of it, right? Okay, first of all, if I were creating a go-to-market strategy for a completely new product, I'm going to level set the landscape for everyone. So I'm going to say, okay, this is what is happening in the industry. This is what has happened with our product in the last year. Just give them a very quick snapshot of what's the industry looking like, what our product looks like, what our customers think, what were our wins, what were our losses. So you paint the picture and then gradually start going into, okay, looking backwards, here are the various customer personas that we have been successful with, most successful with. Like, I mean, let's say I'm selling a software product, right? So then I
Mhm.
can go ahead and tell everyone that, okay, if you were to target companies above $50 million revenue, based out of the US, and with the title of a product manager or a product owner or a business manager, who are trying to solve X, Y, and Z problems. So that's the kind of person I would create, so that everyone, again, this is all about aligning the organization in terms of where do they think the product is, where do they think the customer is, what do they think is their life cycle, and what do they think is our strength, and what do they think is our competition strength. So once you level set that expectation, then you're going to go into the strategies. Okay, this is where we are, these are the customers, and this is where we want to be. So with this in mind, how do we get there? So then I start talking about all the various campaigns that have again once again been successful in the past, and that we are going to run once again, and all the new campaigns that we are going to take up. So for example, like the way a product marketer works, like a very crude example, like a very basic example would be, in my like, okay, in the Uber Eats example, right? So I'm interested in people who are looking for variety of food, like the 25-year-old, like that's whom I want to target. So then I'm going to go back into, I'm going to look at, okay, where are these people today interacting most with? Maybe TikTok, maybe Instagram, maybe Google, maybe Facebook, maybe Twitter, right? So then I'm like, okay, these are the various channels. And then I'm like, okay, do I want to create a organic viral campaign? Do I have money to spend? In which case, I'm going to say, okay, if I have money to spend, I have all these 5 channels, let me run some few tests in each of them. Or I'll be looking backwards to see which of these channels are most effective with 25-year-olds. And then I come up with the right messaging and position, like I was talking about. Talk about the right value prop for these people, and make sure that you're constantly evolving. Like, there's always scope for improving a campaign, always
Mhm.
scope for improving a product. And that should be your obsession.
Mhm.
Obsessed to create products that are world class, that people love, and that customers cannot live without. So in the process, you're able to create those campaigns, and then you're starting to think about, okay, what do I need to tell my sales team, right? Because the product evolves constantly, and the sales team is always thinking about what worked for them 3 years back, 5 years back, or like 6 months back, for a much more agile product. In which case,
Mhm.
you have to constantly keep them on their toes, help them understand, okay, this is what your understanding was, this is what the evolution was. So make slight changes. So this is absolutely important. Like no matter what role you're in, change management is going to be super critical. Whether you're changing the position, whether you're changing the messaging, whether you're changing the expectation, anything, make sure it's incremental. You cannot go from 0 to 1 uh, unless you're creating something so valuable that everyone loves. More often than not, it has to be increments, and that's how you get the buy-in of your leadership, your sales team, your customers. No matter where you're going, get them comfortable with that change.
Cool. Thank you for that. One
Sure.
last question from me.
Hmm.
There's section where you mentioned a couple of skills
Hmm.
that are essential for someone to excel, whether it's a product manager or a product marketing manager. Do you
Uh-huh.
mind quickly running through that as well, very, very briefly, and then I'll let the rest of the audience ask their
Oh yeah, sure.
questions.
So the first one is customer centricity. Like this is pretty straightforward. Like again,
Mm.
I was just talking about, you need to just get into the feet of the customer. You have to feel what they're feeling. Like, I mean, if you're targeting senior citizens, understand that they're old, their vision might be bleak, they may be having trouble handling the keys on the keyboard. So like for them, like probably a bigger button makes more sense. Colors, there could be color blindness, they could be they're like probably not aware of technology. So all these things come in. And when it goes to all the way till the younger population, like you were just talking about, where Shikamo would have been taken as, okay, who is this foreigner just trying to be a wannabe speaker of Swahili, versus Nia J Mkopoa would probably give me a little more finesse and a lot more, like maybe I got a laugh out of people. I don't know. I hope so. So that's what you should be constantly thinking about. Who are your audience? Talk to them.
Yeah.
Again, talk to a lot of customers all the time. Like again, if you feel like, okay, I have a breather, I don't have any products to prioritize, I don't have anything to plan, I have all the next 6 months figured out, it's a very good time to obviously first of all take a break, take a vacation. But once you come back, talk to your customers once again, make sure you're connected to them. The next one is decision making. I cannot iterate how important this is. Like a lot of people find it very difficult to make decisions. They usually like, oh yeah, that makes sense, yeah, that makes sense too, okay, yeah, let's do whatever you guys like. Do you guys feel comfortable with this, right? So that is good. We are at the same time talking about maintaining relations, but also being able to be decisive, right? You're able to quickly take people from point A to point B, whether it is through C or through D, through a new technology, by buying, by building, it doesn't matter. You make the decisions, you rally the crowd behind you, and you move in the right direction. Doesn't mean that you become a dictator and make sure everyone is just running in one direction. You incorporate the all the opinions, all the data you have, and make that call. Sometimes you're going to be wrong, and that is fine. That is the whole product. The whole point of being agile. The
Mhm.
agility is about taking a decision, learning from it, and quickly pivoting.
Mhm.
And that, I think, data compass is again like the analogy I was using is, okay, you're like the ship of a captain. You know where to head. The crew knows where to head, but not everyone. Like everyone, like the Pirates of Caribbean, right? Like, okay, Jack Sparrow is going to say, okay, let's go in this direction, but other people are like, oh, I know, you know what? I see something over there. Let's go there. And someone else is like, you know what? I don't feel like it. Let's go this side. I mean, these are actual valid conversations you're going to have with your product. And then Jack Sparrow is like, okay, I'm the captain of the ship, and this is where I want to head. And here is the data. Here's the compass that is to asking me to go in this direction. So have the data compass so that you're able to back your strategies, back your philosophy, back your tactics, and obviously course correct. The point is not to be always correct from the get-go. The point is
Mhm.
to be right in the long term, be more right than wrong as much as possible.
Cool.
And
Awesome.
finally, the pivot one. I don't know. Like, have do you guys watch Friends? Is it popular in Kenya?
Yeah, it used to be, at least when I
Okay,
was
cool.
growing up.
Okay, that's perfect then. So yeah, in this case, it's about being agile. So end of the day, it's more about again, and this is like a very good example, right? Okay, have an MVP, minimum viable product. So like I said, if the world were to end and the technology world were to end, except for Zoom, I could still have come to the session and use this slide. And then I'm like moving it closer to my vision, moving it again. It's almost like adding the delighters. The first one is going to be very basic. You're going to take the feedback, you're going to talk to people, and then evolve it closer to where you want it to be. I don't know, like which one did you like from a overall view perspective, the left one or the right one?
You asking me?
Yeah, I mean, there weren't enough chats out there.
I think I like the right one.
Okay, that's good. Okay, maybe I was close enough. I mean, this one would have been a great infographic. Like I was a product marketer, right? So that's why
Yeah,
I started off with something colorful that is going to
yeah.
be catchy. But then I'm like, okay, let me become again customer focused. What is the context and how do I make it better? So that's what this is.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I see the
I don't know
sense.
if you found. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I just went with the right one because I like minimalist and I don't like bright colors. So it was just that's the only reason.
Perfect. Yeah.
But I think the message struck through. So Um, Niyi is asking whether we can have access to the materials. Yes, we can. So as long as you're a member of the Product Tank Meetup group, I'll be sharing the links to the materials for Nishanth's talk over there. So just head over to meetup.com, look for Product Tank Nairobi, and the materials will be shared with you within 24 hours. So is there
There's
anyone
actually a
else?
pretty quiet crowd. I don't know. Like, do you want to unmute them maybe and see if
They're all,
we can have a
they
conversation? Like,
can.
I would love to learn from you guys as well.
Okay, so the unmute button is accessible for them,
Oh,
but
okay.
I can spice things up because I can see a very interesting
Hello,
guest. Hello,
Oh,
hello.
not
Oneni.
fair.
Oyeni. My name is Oyeni.
Oeni.
Yes. How are you
All
doing?
right.
I've been able to know the difference between a PM and a PMM. Thank you very much. And also, I want to find out. You said if I'm a member of Product Tank, right?
I am a yeah. If you're a member of Product Tank Nairobi, you should be able to get access to this. Otherwise, just drop me a note on Twitter or on my email, and I can send you the deck.
Oh, thank you very much.
Sure. Again, thank you for joining. By the way, Oni, what do you do? Are you a product manager, or are you someone who's trying to get into the product field?
Actually, I'm transiting to product manager's role, but I've been in business development over the years, but not knowing that I've been doing PM. But right now, I'm looking at focusing on PM entirely.
Okay, good luck with that. Let us know, like between Amos, I, and the entire group, we should be able to help you with the transition. Any sort of help, like just hit me up and I'll be able to help. But yeah, I
Thank you very
mean,
much. Are you also on
uh,
LinkedIn?
I'm on LinkedIn as well, Nishanth
Please, can you
Kadiyala. So
share with me your LinkedIn name?
okay, let me do that.
Just type
So,
it.
all right, I am going to paste it for everyone in case you guys want to just connect.
Mm.
And Ogun Bowale, I hope I got your name correct. So Nigeria, Kenya, yes, awesome. I'm just thrilled to be in front of you guys. And thank you, Amos, for setting this up. I don't think anyone else has any sort of questions. So,
There might be one who has
okay,
because so interestingly enough, we have two webinars this month.
okay.
Yours was this one, and then there's one I think in about a week and a half or so, and that speaker is on the audience. This says Venkatesh. He's a senior project manager at ASOS, the clothing store.
Oh, hi. Hey,
Yeah, yeah.
Venkatesh, how are you doing?
Hi,
Or should I say Mkupoa? Are you based out of Nairobi or are you from a different place?
I'm in London.
Ah, okay. So you wouldn't know that either.
It was a good session. I really enjoyed it. It was nice.
Oh, thanks, Venkatesh. Yeah, so what is your topic going to be on?
It's about motivation, how you stay motivated to enjoy success in your career and happiness in life. I kept it a little generic, but I can adapt it to suit the expectations of product management folks.
Oh, okay, got it. That makes sense. And also, like talking about motivation, again, guys, this is my blog, and one of the topics was about taking up new challenges and sticking to your resolutions. It talks about a little bit about how I picked up books last year and ended up like my initial goal was reading 12 books in 12 months, but eventually I ended up reading 30 books, and that was the first time I picked up books. So maybe it'll help you guys. There's also one about product roadmap over there, where I went to India, and in that trip I was craving for a lot of food, and it talks about how I manage my cravings using a product roadmap. So maybe you'll enjoy that as well. And there's one about public speaking. So again, Venkatesh, your idea on motivation reminded me this. I just wanted to let people know, but I'm going to look forward to it as well. Hopefully, I'll find time to join your session too. But did you have any question for me?
No, nothing at the moment.
Okay, cool.
I'll connect with you in LinkedIn, and then we'll sure catch up sometime in the days ahead. And I'll
All
have a
right.
look at your blogs and the Medium articles.
Fantastic. All right, guys, it was a pleasure. I really enjoyed this. If you have any feedback, again, this is a great time for me to go back and understand how I did with the presentation. If you feel like the content was not relevant, or if you felt like, okay, something was really good or something was really bad, or any sort of feedback, I would love it, so that the next time I do this presentation, I can take it back and take a more customer-centric approach.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Nishant. That's been great. So we'll just make sure that we'll share the materials with the rest of the guys who are here, and also the guys who are unable to make it, they'll have access to it as well. But thank you so much for the time.
Thank you so much. All right, have a good one. Bye-bye, guys.
Thank you, Amos. Thanks, Nishan. Thanks, guys.
Bye.